2 months ago, this race for the White House certainly looked a lot different than it does now. But after a chaotic summer unfolded before our eyes, the race has changed and brought with it historic moments sure to be discussed for generations to come. So how exactly did we get here? Our Jay O'Brien takes a look back as we move forward.
In an election turned on a dime more than once,
this is a pivotal moment.
It's this moment, the Trump-Biden rematch, that literally rewrote the story of this campaign. President Biden, 81 years old and suffering from a cold, his team says, struggles to answer certain questions in their first and only debate.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Former President Trump pounces.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence.
And the race for the White House was never the same. Now hurtling toward Election Day.
I think she's awesome. I think she's exciting.
Harris has been there for 3.5 years, and it's only gotten worse.
I just want us to be happy out here, live life.
We wanted to look back on this unprecedented race.
The former President Donald Trump found guilty on all 34 counts.
Breaking news right now. We're getting word that former President Donald Trump, during a rally in Pennsylvania.
President Biden has just announced that he is ending his re-election bid.
And this summer, that changed it all. Back in late June, after that debate, the fallout is swift. The Democratic Party divided over President Biden's ability to win a second time.
Did Joe Biden have a bad night, in my opinion? Yes, he absolutely did.
Do you think Joe Biden performed well last night?
Beautiful day.
Do you think Joe Biden should be the Democratic nominee, ma'am? Democrats start calling on Biden to step aside.
With the greatest respect, I don't think he's up for it.
Biden tries to stick it out.
When you get knocked down, you get back up.
Telling our George Stephanopoulos.
With the fence, and if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
But as the Republican convention nears, the president faces increased pressure from high-profile members of his party.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run.
Then, as Biden tries to fend off that pressure, former President Donald Trump holds a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump is wounded in the ear. 2 other rally-goers are also hit, and one man, firefighter Corey Comparator, is killed. Then, in just over a week, the race starts to change quickly. July 13th, the same day as that assassination attempt, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer privately meets with President Biden, expressing concerns if he can win. The RNC starts days later, July 15th. Trump makes his triumphant return, a bandage on his ear. Biden is still on the campaign trail, but 2 days later, on July 17th, he pauses his campaign after testing positive for COVID. Then Trump formally accepts the GOP nomination and returns to holding rallies. And 3 days later, July 21st, President Biden, still isolating from COVID, releases a letter saying he's dropping out of the presidential race.
It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president.
Harris quickly scrambles to mount a presidential bid. She rallies top Democrats to her side and becomes the presumptive Democratic nominee in just days. The first black woman and South Asian candidate to lead a major party ticket. Professor Matthew Dalick teaches history and politics at George Washington University and sees parallels between this election and other chaotic periods in American history.
I would describe the summer of 2024 as on par with some of these really critical extended moments, right?
But says this country has seen even more tumultuous times.
1968, assassination of Martin Luther King, more than 100 cities burned, right? You know, large-scale uprisings, riots in major American cities. The murder of Robert Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson withdrawing from the race. 68 absolutely felt like the country, I think, for a lot of Americans, country coming apart.
Is it strange for you that this was a race that was supposed to be historic because one of the candidates had been indicted 4 times and convicted once, and that isn't even considered to be one of the most historic events of this race now?
Well, what's really crazy is that no one is really talking anymore about a convicted felon running for president. I mean, people are talking about it a little bit, but it's sort of fallen away.
Do you tell your students that they are living through a historic period of time?
I think that they probably know it.
We wanted to test that.
Raise your hand if you are going to vote this year.
And found 4 GW students. 3 are voting in a presidential election for the first time.
What was a moment where you jumped and went, oh my gosh?
The assassination attempt was obviously shocking, but I think the moment that really sticks out is Joe Biden dropping out of the race, and the rallying behind Kamala Harris that we saw, I think, was incredibly surprising and exciting.
But rather than promoting that national unity he promised in the days after that assassination attempt,
I think I'm entitled to personal attacks.
Trump quickly returning to old habits, attacking his new rival, telling ABC's Rachel Scott.
I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
What's your top issue?
The top issue is the future of democracy.
Climate justice, abortion rights, and Israel-Palestine.
I think I want to see the government in our communities investing in green jobs and housing affordability and out of our intimate healthcare decisions, whether that be reproductive rights or gender-affirming care.
I think climate change is something that should be addressed sooner rather than later.
For their parents' generation, another key issue, the economy. Both campaigns also battling over key demographics like black voters, suburban women, and Rust Belt voters. Democrats hoping Harris's new running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, can give them an edge there.
I know guns. I'm a veteran. I'm a hunter. And I was a better shot than most Republicans in Congress, and I got the trophies to prove it.
Trump turning to his VP pick, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, to do the same.
I promise you this. I will be a vice president who never forgets where he came from.
It is a moment of change. We don't know what kind of change that is.
Well, thank you very much.
And this election year roller coaster all leads to that debate stage. The first time these two candidates, who've never even met in person, will face off.
This is definitely going to be in the textbooks at some point, right?
You want the history to stop for a little bit. Oh, and everybody relax.
In a race no one saw coming.
A lot of history that continues to be made. Our thanks to Jay O'Brien for that look back and forwards.